Saturday, and we're here in West Marin, near the headlands. We're getting ready to visit a historic Nike missile base. Back during the Cold War in the 50s, 60s, 70s, these bases were all over the country. They were set up so that the Russians came and invade, and we could blast the suckers out of the sky. So today, we're going to go see what's actually inside one of these Nike missile bases. Come on with me.
I'll step on in here. Everybody's going to do that. Here we go.
Since it's military, it's like any other weapon. It has a magazine. The rounds, they call these rounds, they go in the magazine, just like putting 9mm bullets in a gun. They're ready to fly 7 seconds after the launcher reaches. I never saw one miss. Never. Wow. I saw some not launch, but I never saw one miss. It comes off the launcher, the booster burst burns for 4.5 seconds. It's gone. It's just gone. When it goes up, it looks like it just goes up and it's just gone. It just turns and it's gone downrange. It's awesome. The idea of the system was not to shoot down Soviet bombers. The idea of the system was to prove to the Soviets that we can and will shoot down any bomber. I wanted every Soviet pilot to walk out to their bombers to know they probably weren't going to make it and they weren't going to come. We're going to put a ring of steel up there. You're not going to get through. You're not going to go home.
These are the Nike Hercules. As you can see, this one's slightly cocked, and the reason is we're working on it. We do have the problem of not being able to raise it now. It takes like 3 little functions to get the thing to going up. Number 2 doesn't want to work. Okay, 3 and 3 on either side, 6 missiles down here. So you had 12 missiles for this particular location. This magazine. Somebody mentioned probably upstairs there were up to 11 at one point in time in the Bay Area. At the time of the treaty signing, there were still 7 active sites, all of which meant there were somewhere yet in the area of 90-something missiles on alert around San Francisco. These were, again, anti-aircraft primarily. You had 4, if you will, different types of warhead, nuclear and a high-explosive warhead. Warheads were resident from here to here. About 1,300-pound warhead. Pull. Keep on pulling. That's how they were moved, by hand. Whether you're already standing up, you're all armed, you got all your things. You only have maybe 1 or 2 safety pins to pull out of the thing just prior to launch. People say, well, what about the fire? Well, it came out of the back and it's about 300 feet. But I said you went from the ground to 4,000 feet in 3.5 seconds, so it didn't stick around long. Okay, this gets me in trouble, but I'm going to tell you folks, it's just like a damn good marriage. Here you see the husband being told where to go, and the wife's in the radar telling him how to get there. Accepted 4 commands. Pitch, rolling, y'all. Left, right, up and down if you want to think of it, and explode. Going out, folks. Watch your elbows.
This is the Nike Ajax missile. It's got 3 warheads. It has a 12-pounder up front, 196-pounder in the middle, and a 123-pounder, and what this would do is fly up, get forward and above its target, blow up, and when it blew up, it would create a cloud of these little metal chips. It's called shrapnel. Trying to fly through this cloud of metal, it's coming into the intake, into the cockpit. It's really bad flying with it. But then they realized that the Soviets were arming their bombers with nuclear weapons. And we wanted something that would take down the whole flight of Soviet bombers in one shot. So they came up with what is called the Nike Hercules. This is the warhead section of the Nike Hercules missile. It flew at Mach 3.65 and flew out to about 100 miles. That's after going to 120,000 feet in the air, arcing and coming down still under power to a point in space in front of the target. So it had a 2 kiloton. And then they had a 20 kiloton and a 40 kiloton.
Where were they made? Where was that?
Excuse me?
Where were they manufactured?
All I'm at liberty to say is we did it at depot level. Actually, one of the sites they were manufacturing on is closed, and that was the one in Colorado. They had one other place that was built, which we can't go into because they're still building stuff there. Not like this, but smarter stuff. You've been to Berkeley? I love it. Nuclear free zone in Berkeley. Where do you think californium was created at? It's a radioisotope. They made it at UC Berkeley. Or Berkeleyum, which was also created by them. So I laugh at this stuff. This is an RCAC. Every one of these units annually would go down to Texas, box up a missile, load it up on trucks, go down to Texas, and shoot a missile at these RCACs once a year. Now, by the way, every major city in America had these missile sites ringing. Wow. They'd all, once a year, one or two groups at a time would go down and be rated on if they could get in front of the missile. These guys were so proficient that when this thing here went to the old mothball fleet, they started shooting down these. Imagine this thing's flying at Mach 2.5. This missile back in the 1950s was so accurate it could shoot down one of these. This thing launched from here, went to 120,000 feet up in the air, arced over, and still under power. It was looking for this space in front of all these big, huge bombers that had bombs on them. And by the time it got to here, it was doing Mach 3.65, which is over 26,000 miles per hour. And it would go boom, and all of these might fall. Boom.
Wow. But when I was living in Portland, I used to work up in Portland. I commuted back and forth to Portland to work for a year. And there's a large Russian community up in Portland. And I was on the bus to go back to my car. And I noticed while I was waiting in the bus for everybody else to come out of the airport, that the driver's name was Vitali. It's a Russian name. So I got to talking to him, and we compared notes. It turned out the exact same time I was sitting on a battery, he was a tank commander on the other side of the border. So he knew if he came across the border, he was probably going to get vaporized. And I'm sitting there wondering if I'm going to have to kill him. So we would have beer. And we said just like, and I still email him. I mean, it's just really cool to think that things change so much to where we can be friends with.